In this video, I'm going to take you through rules 19 and 20 together because they're both talking about ED and what ED does and how it's used. So obviously you probably already know that to make a verb in the past tense we add ED. Obviously, unless that's an irregular verb. So a word like play, which is a regular word, we would add ED and make played. But other words are very irregular. Fly becomes flew. Catch becomes caught. And there's many other examples. But the basic rule is if you want to make a word past tense, then you're going to add ED. Now ED is an interesting suffix because it actually makes 3 different sounds depending on the words it's added to. So that's what rule 20 is about why does it make those different sounds in different words. So let's go through one step at a time. So this is the long explanation. The ED, the past tense ending, forms another syllable when the base word ends in d or t, or it can say d in voiced final sounds or t in unvoiced final sounds in the base word. Let's explain. So let's go one step back. So the suffix ed can make 3 different sounds depending on what it's following in a word. So in planted, it makes id. In watered, it makes the d sound. And in picked, it makes the t sound, which explains why children write jumped and they put J-U-M-P-T. That's exactly what they heard, but they didn't apply the rule that you add ed to make a past tense word. So why do we go id, d, t? And I quite like those words, planted, watered, picked, because it relates to growing a flower. So you planted it, you watered it, and then you picked it. So it's a nice 3 words that just sync together to help the children. So id, as in planted. If a word ends with a d or a t, and they're a speech pair, so that adds an extra syllable. So you need to say the extra vowel. So a speech pair is where 2 letters are said exactly the same. The only thing is different is whether it's voiced or unvoiced. So if you say d and t, and you just put your hand here in front of your voice box and go d, t, d, t, the only difference you'll actually feel is here in your voice box. Your mouth and your lips and your teeth do exactly the same things for both sounds. So they're a speech pair. So if we think about handed, we can't say hand and get rid of the d before we put the ed on the end because it's just too tricky. So it becomes 2 syllables, handed, counted. So, and then if you sounded those words out, the e and the d would take a separate sound because one's saying it, one's saying d. So handed would be h, a, n, d, I, d, handed. Now if we looked at watered, where the d sound, these words end with a voiced sound. So storm, excuse, oh, perceive. So those ones that then we add the d on the end. So then if you sound out these ones, so for stormed you get st or d. So the e and the d would go together because they're one sound together. They're not making an it and a d like they were in planted. And then the final one of this set is picked. And these are words that end with an unvoiced sound. So you're not using your voice box to make these ones. So stamp, match, finance, thank. And then if you sound out stamped, you go st, a, mp, d. And again, sorry, t. So you'd add those together as one sound. I hope that makes ed a little clearer.